There we go.
Did you make it?
I made it.
I can't say that I've made it, but we'll carry on anyway.
Yeah, that was a weighty statement that I just made. I've made it.
And then you just turn off the phone and walk out and leave.
I'm done here. Happy Friday.
Yes, it is. And I have a lot to talk about, I think.
Unpack? Cool.
Yeah.
Can I quickly say that earlier an older man, I said, hello, how are you? Here at the library. And he said, hello, Happy New Year to you. And I was like, do you know what month it is? But I was just kind of like, you too.
Maybe he's decided that it's new for him. So
yeah. I mean, who am I to question that?
I think probably my response would be like, what have I done with my time? Like,
right.
Did I miss this time?
Right.
I would be questioning myself.
Is it January again? Yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't put it past me. So.
No.
Anyway, let's talk about stuff.
All right. I just started a book that was recommended to me by my sister. It's called Blacktop Wasteland by S.A. Cosby.
Mm-hmm.
And it is not something that I normally would have picked up, but I'm enjoying it. So
cool.
I don't know. Maybe I've discovered a whole new genre that I like.
But I love when that happens.
It is. It's about this guy who's sort of a little bit of a shady character. He had been like I guess what you call a wheelman, like the getaway driver type thing.
Oh, yes.
And so he's pretty much done with that, but then he is sort of short on cash, so he goes and like kind of gets involved again in the backwoods
one last
racing
job kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. but like racing, and so but like drag racing, like out in the backwoods, that kind of thing.
Nice.
Does that really happen? I guess I don't know.
I don't in a lot of
in
stories.
Fiction.
Yeah.
Like I can't believe. Okay, so yeah, obviously you and I are probably not going to be privy to where that's going down, so we can't judge whether it's realistic.
I guess it just because it's not happening in my world and your world doesn't mean it doesn't exist, I guess.
Right.
So I don't know. Maybe that's going on.
Yeah. So I'm not big on that kind of thing, and I don't care about cars and that,
Right.
And the only thing I can think of recently that I've seen that had anything to do with that was that movie Drive with Ryan Gosling.
Yeah.
Which is terrible.
You're like that movie Fast and Furious. I don't know if you've heard of it.
that movie, those 12 movies.
Yeah.
I say.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I have taken that on as a phrase. So like,
yeah,
I'm always talking about the dog being,
Fast and Furious.
Fast and Furious.
Yes. Doing things fast and furiously.
Too fast, too furious.
Yeah. No, yeah. But Drive I did see, and I really liked Drive. So yeah.
Not me. But anyway, that's neither here nor there, because this book is much better.
I haven't seen it since it came out, and I'm really curious how I would watch it now, because I know it was like very stylized, and especially like around the time, like when it came out. And I was in college, I think. And so I don't know. I feel like I could see myself watching it now and thinking it's cheesy, Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what exactly I was judging about it. I just, at the end of it, I hadn't enjoyed it. So
yeah, and that's the thing, is like, I don't remember very much about it, but I remember really liking it when I was finished with it. So I don't know how accurate my opinion is as far as Drive goes. So forget
you can have your own opinion. You can like things. It's fine.
Yeah.
We don't always agree on everything.
Oh, no, that's true.
But anyway, this Blacktop Wasteland is good. And it's, the language reminds me of like old detective novels and movies.
Yeah,
but
cool.
it's the author and the main character are African American, so it has like a different flavor.
Uh-huh.
And the language is very pared down and direct.
Mm-hmm.
And the main character's car is Duster is what is the car, I guess. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
And but it's also like not flashy on the outside at all. Just kind of,
Mm.
it's worn or whatever, but it's like the
It
best
it really
car or otherwise.
flies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I thought it was interesting in that sense. The language is
Uh-huh.
intriguing, and then the correlation between the character and his car and the stylistic stuff. And
Huh.
anyway, I'm enjoying it. So I it, it even like it turns like the whole like Dukes of Hazzard trope on its ear by,
Oh my
you know,
gosh.
even references Dukes of Hazzard. It's
Yeah.
like, okay, yeah, we know we're in the South, we're racing cars, Dukes of Hazzard, we
Yes,
got it.
yes.
This is not that.
We'll acknowledge it. Yes, I love
Yeah.
that. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Just to get that out of the way.
Yeah.
Don't expect Bo and Luke to show up in this.
Well, and okay, how did your sister discover this book? Is it the kind of thing she would normally read?
No, I don't know. In fact, I think it was probably just she read a review of it somewhere. Probably.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. So we got a copy for the library, and
nice.
you can check it out.
Cool.
But yeah, it's interesting. It's very violent. I mean,
really,
if you're a fan of that, of like any kind of the detective genre, there's lots of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And so it's a new take on that, which is always refreshing.
Yeah, definitely.
And then I do want to recommend, if anybody out there has not yet read Kitchen Confidential by Anthony Bourdain, they should.
Oh, yes.
And that was my first introduction to him years and years ago in grad school in a creative nonfiction writing class.
Yeah.
And his book was one of the examples. And
when you don't have to reveal this, but when was that published?
I want to say late 90s.
Okay.
Yeah. Early 2000s. But yeah, around there.
Okay.
And that's his first book, I believe. And it is just a wonderful example of memoir writing. And of course, he went on to write other things and, of course, star in lots of other stuff. But I always liked him. And that was my introduction. And it is, I think everybody should read it. Whether you care about the world of chefs or not, it's sort of transcends that a little bit, I think.
Yeah. That's what I need to read. I know, it's legend and, that it was his first, because had he, I don't know, we can talk about this is another podcast, but where did he come from? I guess, like, did he come up as a chef and then he started traveling?
Yes.
And
so
doing all that. Okay.
Yeah. And I think he spent in his youth, maybe one of his parents was from France, but I think they traveled. I know he lived in France when he was young.
Okay.
And then,
that's why he was so cool.
Right. But, so he was a chef, and then the Kitchen Confidential came out of his experiences himself as a cook.
Yeah. Okay.
But there's just some really great descriptions. Like, there are things that I remember because they're so vividly told,
right.
About these guys who had been cooking so long that they didn't have any feeling in any of their fingers.
Yeah,
and they would just reach in and grab the stuff, without any gloves on.
Yeah.
Anyway, just things like that it's a classic.
Yeah. Well, great.
And so thinking about that made me think about another brilliant example of creative nonfiction, which is Slouching Toward Bethlehem by Joan Didion. And I don't even remember what reminded me of this recently, but I made a note that I would talk about it because I don't know. I thought it would be interesting. So
Yes.
hopefully that's what we're doing.
I'll make that decision. I'm just kidding.
Okay. Prepare to judge.
Okay.
So in this creative nonfiction class, we read probably 10 different, this is actually a different creative nonfiction class, but we read probably 10 different examples of the genre. And we also talked about, like, what does that mean? What does that term mean?
Right.
Because it's kind of it's a new-ish term for stuff that's supposed to be factual, right? Like reporting or biography, memoir, or that kind of stuff. And so there was this example of Joan Didion, and then actually, I am totally making this up.
Oh my god.
Which is so perfect.
Like, this is an example of what I'm talking about.
Exactly. There's another anecdote about Joan Didion we can come back to later. But the one I'm talking about is actually Annie Dillard. And Pilgrim at Tinker Creek. Another classic example of nothing like Salting Toward Bethlehem.
Tinker Creek. Yeah.
Yeah. So, wow. How could I more perfectly embody the problematic part of creative nonfiction? So, in Pilgrim at Tinker Creek, there is a famous passage where Annie Dillard writes about her cat. And the cat comes in and has, I believe, like killed a bird or something, and has left bloody cat paw prints, through the house. And so years later, she is talking at a conference, and somebody asks her about that passage for some reason. I'm not sure why.
Sure.
And she just sort of tosses off without thinking about it that that never happened. Like, she had a cat, but she made up the part about the bloody paw prints. And it enraged people.
Oh my god.
People who care about that kind of thing. Obviously, other writers of creative nonfiction were like, you can't just make up something whole cloth. And
go write a fantasy story while you're at it.
Right. Yeah. So I just thought I would, I'm curious what other people think about that. Like, do you expect your things that you're reading that are memoir or like Kitchen Confidential or something like that to be just pure reportage, or like, what is the line that you have to draw between?
I mean, I don't know. I feel like I have to say, I think it's a little, I don't want to say strange, but maybe a little strange to, and that it doesn't mean I'm against it, but a little strange to just sort of throw in things like that. Like when you're talking about your life, like your personal life, if you're writing, your memoir.
Yeah.
I don't know. I honestly, like, you kind of briefly brought this up earlier, and I almost feel like I need to sit with it a little bit.
It's definitely something that on depending on the day, I have different feelings about it.
And kind of depending on the person, weirdly. Like, if I had read, like, at Bossy Pants or, by Tina Fey, and then found out that, like,
she just made up out of it.
Or like, she didn't really work at this theater or whatever, I'd be like, why? Like, why did you, why? But
I guess for me, it's kind of like that old storyteller thing. Does it make the story better? Because if so, maybe I'll be more forgiving about it.
Yes, because I was going to say, at the same time, like, I come from a storyteller. My dad is a storyteller, and he's a great storyteller. And, there are certain stories I've heard him tell over and over and over again. And sometimes, like, he doesn't go too crazy. He doesn't just make stuff up, but, he'll throw in, like, an extra, like, just give it a little
embellishment.
Yes. Make it a little bit more interesting. And I don't mind that.
Yeah. And I think part of it has to do with memory, because, our memories are not infallible.
It's weird.
And so I can give you my accounting, and we've talked a lot about, like, stuff that we've experienced in our lives, or, our past, just little stories. That's all, filtered through my memory. My siblings remember things differently. You know, your
Yes.
other people that were there remember things differently.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think there's definitely gray area there.
Yeah.
And I think it can be weird just to make stuff up, but at least I think she was honest about it. You
Yeah.
know, she's
No,
like,
the fact that she didn't try to hide it,
yeah,
then I
yeah.
think I would have a problem.
Yeah, that would seem like a just at the very least an odd choice
Exactly. Exactly.
to defend that kind of
Yeah.
thing. But otherwise, no, I think that it if it makes a good story, then I'm all for it.
Yeah. No,
Now,
yeah,
if you're on a
ultimately,
witness stand, maybe dial it back.
yeah,
You know,
don't say that your cat's bloody paw prints covered the floor.
led to the murderer or whatever. Yeah,
Right. But yeah, no.
yeah, no,
In any case, I will say, I judged, and that was very interesting. And but really though, it is, and like I said, I think it is something that I'll definitely pay attention to from here on out, and I'll sit with this a little bit.
yeah. We can come back to it. Maybe
Yeah.
there's some other examples. I think that
Yeah, I'll be looking for it for sure.
Well, the other book or books that I wanted to mention this week are couldn't really be more different. They're for sure made up, but David Mitchell is one of my favorite writers, and I've talked about his books before. I think recently I talked about Utopia Avenue,
Yeah.
which I have to say I did not enjoy.
Oh.
But yeah, but his other books, and I will always read whatever he's
Sure.
putting out. And it wasn't until I had read several of them that I realized that they are all interconnected. They have either they have a character or a concept or something that connects all of his books.
Oh, I eat that stuff up. I love it.
It's like a puzzle, like, you know, solving this mystery, and some of them are very subtle. Like in Utopia Avenue, I think it's very much set in a realistic world, whereas others like Cloud Atlas and the Bone Clocks, and those are very fantasy driven,
right?
Or parts of them are, and so sometimes it's hard to catch, and that actually makes it more intriguing to me because you have to be on your toes and you have to be paying attention, and
right,
and then you want to know, like, why
exactly.
what is this all leading to some big thing?
Yes. What are the connections? Why are they there? I love it. Like I recently, my sister was telling me about how she saw some theory that all of the Pixar movies are set in the same universe, starting with Brave, you know, which is like Scotland in the Middle Ages, ending with Monsters Inc., which I guess means we morph into monsters eventually, or monsters take over. I don't know. But
that's funny.
I mean, it's a silly example, but I was like weirdly like, let's unpack this a little bit.
Yeah, let's prove it to me.
Yeah. Anyway, very cool. That's a cool. Did you just discover that?
No, I mean, I had known, or I had recognized some of it, but then there are still a couple of his books that I have not read that's like, you know, on my reading list, but and so that's maybe why that I didn't catch on as quickly, and I haven't read them one after the other, but I did realize after, I think it's Bone Clocks, and then Slade House is another one, and Slade House is very much just like not a vignette of something else, but just like it's much shorter. It's a completely different format, but it's definitely a take on another book, or like an offshoot of another book.
Cool.
And so, yeah, so that one made me more aware of it, and I started looking into it. But
that's fun.
Yeah, I love it. And so I'm gonna reread everything and see what I come up with.
Yeah. Well, good luck on that.
Yeah, you gotta. Yeah, exactly. Gotta love a multiverse where
I do, man.
Just connections, and you have to
Yes.
catch them.
And here's another really silly example. Nick was really excited about the new Godzilla versus Kong or King. Well, I don't remember what it was called, but we watched it, and my takeaway was like it was fun to watch, as in looking at it with my eyes, but I
just passively taking it in.
yes, like
you're not
at
thinking
one
about
the plot, obviously the plot is terrible and weird, and like at one point I had been talking through something and I was like, oh wait, what did he just say? They were explaining something, and Nick was like, it doesn't matter. And we just kept watching. And he is so not like that. He is so like, I want to know, every detail.
Yeah.
What did we miss? Anyway, the thing, he told me that apparently, like, I didn't know that the King Kong and Godzilla worlds are apparently one world. And I mean, I just thought this was like an interesting movie. But I guess, yeah, the concept has been that they take place in the same world and that Godzilla and King Kong are from the same place. And
like Radiation Island or whatever.
Yeah, don't go there. But that was the thing that made me be like, that's kind of cool. That part of it is kind of cool. But anyway,
my only experience with either of those, I mean, I guess I've seen parts of the early King Kong films, but I can remember when I was a kid on Saturdays, like at noon or something, it was like monster movie time, or I don't know what it was. But and so I watched like Mothra and Godzilla and stuff like that, like just being like a very small kid.
Yeah.
And completely apparently unattended by my parents.
Yeah, well, we watched the original King Kong. I think it was, when a lot as kids. Like Callie and I really loved it, and we watched it a lot. And I don't know. And yeah, there are some parts in that one even where I'm like, ooh, I don't know. How did I take that in as a child? But
I remember being scared of the Blob. And then, have you ever seen that?
No, but
it's ridiculous. Honestly. I went back and saw it years and years later, and I was like, "This is the stupidest."
Is it just like
concept?
Does the Blob move quickly or slowly?
No.
Yeah,
super, like almost you can't tell it's moving. Like so slow.
It's waiting on the edge of your seat, kind of. Yes. It's getting closer. Just
so ridiculous.
Step over it. I don't know.
Yeah. Just start walking slowly the other direction. It's never going to catch
and
you.
You're fine.
So they had to, like come up with these ridiculous ways for people to like accidentally fall into it and stuff.
Right.
Which is 100% what I would do. I have to
say I'm so clumsy. That's how I would go. No.
the more I try to avoid something, the more likely it is.
Yes, I'll fall directly into it. Yeah.
But yeah, that was one of those where as a kid, it was really unnerving
creepy,
to me. Yeah. And then later I just saw it and I thought, this is the most boring. Technical difficulty.
Well, I like how I was going to say, well, we left off with me asking you what color the blob on the movie The Blob is. Important stuff here, folks.
Here we go back to the creative nonfiction.
Maybe you remembered it one way?
My memory of it is that it was kind of like pinkish.
Oh.
But
I'm
it
like
could
about
be
to
totally
Google something.
Yeah, we obviously need to know this fact before we can move forward with our lives.
Oh, it's looking pretty pinkish. You're right.
Aha. All right. Nice. So,
you
can believe me about everything.
Yes. I will follow you blindly.
But anyway, so just you can picture people looking at this pinkish goo and screaming.
Yeah.
Just like unhinged,
It like
That's the
this
movie.
picture. One picture makes it look like Pepto Bismol colored, like,
Yeah.
which is hilarious.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
I need to watch that. It looks great and terrible.
I think there was even an update to it after
Oh,
like the original one, which was in the 50s, I want to say.
yeah. It says, oh, there's Beware the Blob that came out in 1972.
Oh, of course.
Yeah,
You gotta
and
have the
it's
70s version.
Beware exclamation point the Blob. Beware. Anyway, now that I've
Yeah.
gotten us super off track.
No, that's hilarious. Okay, so but that was my early introduction to the monster genre.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Saturdays on front of the TV
yeah.
after Mr. Peppermint or whatever else came on before
Living the dream.
that. Right.
Oh, that's great.
So those were the books that I've of course we've gone off track from the books
Yeah,
that we're talking
sorry.
about,
We
but
were talking about a book originally. Sorry.
we will officially move away from that. And I recommended this to you the other day that I saw that was a recommendation from another podcast, My Favorite
Mm-hmm.
Murder, which it's not murder related. So I guess it
Cool.
was so good that they just talked about it on that
Decided to
podcast.
talk about it. They'll sometimes do that, like where they'll just kind of do what you and I do, where we're talking about what we've been watching and reading. So
Yeah. Which I'm always listening to that stuff. So,
yeah,
but
yeah,
they recommended In and of Itself, which
yes.
is on Hulu. Have you watched it?
No, but I
Okay.
want to this weekend. I'll try. Maybe Nick and I will watch it tonight. I have it written down though, and I looked it up just to like make sure. Okay, yes, it's on Hulu. Here we go.
Yeah. So I don't even, and what I told you is that I'm not going to tell you anything about it because that was the instruction. I watched it with my sister. That was the instruction that we had. Don't look up anything about it. Just turn it on and watch
play. Yes.
And
which is pretty much the opposite of how I operate usually.
Yes, definitely. I got to see all the reviews and the receipts. And everything.
Yes.
Because am I going to waste my time with this? But we kind of had just some dead time, and well, I was like, okay, and just kind of jumped into it and turned it on. And it was definitely worth it.
Cool.
I still don't know exactly how I feel about it, and so we could maybe talk about that another time. But it was worth it, and it was worth not having any idea what it was, because I think if I read a description of it, I think they would be hard pressed to write a description that would make enough sense.
That would do it justice.
Yeah. Because I think any way that you would describe it, you'd be like, no, I don't think that sounds right.
Well, that's cool. That's certainly intriguing.
Yeah. So I'm just going to drop that in and we'll leave it there.
Okay. Yeah, I will watch it and let you know.
And then I watched a new series. It's on HBO. Mm-hmm. I think it's just one episode.
Yes, it is. I think I know what you're about to say.
Yeah, The Nevers.
Yes.
Which is steampunk, which I love.
Mm-hmm.
So fun.
Mm-hmm.
It's ridiculous, but
you
fun.
Gotta lean into it. You really, yeah.
And it's about turn of the century. Of course, we're in turn of the last century. We now have to say that because we're, anyway. But it's just turn of the century London. And one day something mysterious happens, and women. Mm-hmm. It is all women, right?
No, mostly women. No,
because, no. There's some men, but
that was one of the things that made me go, okay, I want to know what's happening.
Yeah,
I'm ready for another episode.
These people are touched, I think is what they call it.
Yeah, like capital T.
Yeah, yeah. That something happens to them, and it's all they each have a different sort of ability,
power.
Yeah. Some of them are like, one of the girls is giant, and but others are just like super smart.
Yeah.
Or one of them like can understand all languages.
My gosh, that concept was so crazy to me.
Yeah.
Like she can't speak in a way that anyone can understand because all of these languages are just like jumbled in her head, and so when she speaks it's like 8
Just some,
languages. Yeah.
yeah.
That I thought that was crazy. And the woman who, I mean, I think this was who you're referring to when you said is super smart, who the inventor woman. At first I was
Hmm.
like, well, how is that, an ability or power or whatever?
Yeah.
But that idea is really cool. I don't know, just being able to sort of, what did she say? Like she can,
She describes it as like being able to see electricity or something,
and
or
like match
energy.
energies
Yeah.
and build stuff like that. Yeah. And Nick and I had like a little discussion about it, and he was like, that doesn't make sense. Like how would, and I was like, I bet she's also a genius, like and just how, I don't know. I just thought that was an interesting one. I love superhero people having powers kind of stories because I feel like that gets like more and more broad. Um,
Yeah.
I love stuff like that, and my favorite thing about it is like learning whatever all the powers are. I love when there's someone where you're like, "Ooh, they haven't discovered theirs yet. What
Hmm.
could it be?" I love that.
Yeah. And there's a lot of characters in the show. And
I know,
so
because yeah,
it,
I was saying it seems like a lot of people were
mhm.
affected by this. Whatever happened.
Which I think is great because that leaves so many avenues for storytelling.
Yes.
It's not just like the one antagonist and protagonist. It's more complex, and
Yeah.
you don't really there is like a good side versus bad side, but you don't really know.
Can
There's
I
some
just
also.
say, this villain, girl.
Yeah.
That's all I'll say. We can
Yeah.
talk in more detail later.
Well, I'm really looking forward to see the next episode. I don't
I am
know. It
too.
must be
Yeah.
coming up this weekend, maybe.
Yeah, I hope so. I'm excited about it. In fact, I almost wonder if I should wait so that I can binge it later, but I'm kind of too excited to wait. I want to see what's going to happen. So, good job.
Yep,
You got
they
me.
got us. The other thing that I kind of got sort of sucked into is there's this series. Uh, Maybe she does YouTube series, but also it's on TikTok, and it's the Weird Wide Web is what she calls it,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
and it's just random stuff that she finds that are just like bizarre stories.
Love it.
And we don't have to go down the rabbit hole on that, but there are so many just oddball things. Like one of them, it's almost too creepy to mention. I don't know,
Ooh.
because it's just weird.
Yeah.
Like you can't really describe it any other way. But there's this guy who for years and years
Mm-hmm.
just posts, I think if it's not daily, then it's weekly. It may
Uh-huh.
even be daily. It's
Uh-huh.
something crazy, some crazy amount of stuff where he's just sitting on the floor,
Uh-huh.
smiling,
Mm.
staring at the camera for
So
4 hours.
wait, hold on. He's posting
He's posting like
pictures.
like a video stream of
Oh.
himself
Oh. Oh.
sitting still, just
For
staring at the camera with this huge grin on his
for
face
4 hours
for
or
hours. Yeah, at a time.
what?
Yeah.
I
And like,
mean, it sounds like a waste of time, except I guess he's kind of famous now, so if that was the goal.
yeah, I think it's even called like sitting and smiling. That's what it is.
And I don't want to Google that. That's so weird.
I'm telling you. So she's describing it, and I was like, okay, that's pretty weird. But then she shows a video of it. It's like,
Mhm.
oh,
Yeah.
whoa, he's just super creepy.
Well,
And
it's the kind of scary that's like less is more, it's that like to me, I was talking about this recently, how one of the scariest things you could do, like it could be any setting in a movie or real life, I guess too, where you walk in and say the person is facing the other way and you like say their name and they don't turn around, like Blair Witch
yeah,
style, but it could be in any setting. And I think that's the creepiest
Yeah.
But it's yeah, that it makes me think of that kind of creepy.
Well, and this guy, so he's got all of this, you know, years of footage. And one time, apparently, it caught somebody trying to break in to the door behind him.
What?
Like they opened the door.
Wow.
It's just, and he doesn't react, I think is what it was. Anyway, just so bizarre. And
My mouth is hanging open under my mask over here.
you just, there's no, anyway, it makes me worried. Like, do we know this guy? You know what I mean? Like
Right.
somebody that you see, he's just getting his groceries or comes to the library or whatever. And then he goes home and does something like
Does
that for
that?
like obsessively. Anyway,
Oh.
it makes me worried about other people.
It's so weird.
Yeah. And so there's lots of things like that.
Interesting. I mean, I'm
Just
still
weird stuff on the web.
intrigued. I'm weirded out, but I would still
Yeah.
listen to it.
Yeah. I mean, kind of, you want to know, right? Like
Right.
you don't want to be taken by surprise. I'm glad, I'm glad that
Yeah.
I do know about it, I guess. But
Yeah.
anyway.
Oh, cool.
But along those lines, there's another, and maybe it came from her or something like that, something related.
Uh-huh.
But there was this guy, his name is Stephen Kubacki,
Uh-huh.
and he just vanished when he was in his early 20s, I want to say. And maybe, I think he was on a skiing trip. So like they find his skis and his ski poles.
Right.
He's not there. He's just gone. Never to be heard from again for like several years or something. At least a year. So here I'm like
It's
not remembering all the details, but
right, but
it was at least a
the
year.
general idea of the story.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay.
And then one day he knocks on his father's door and he's back. He has no memory of what happened to him.
What?
And his father's door was like, his father's house was in a different state from where he vanished from. And so he says he woke up and was in some kind of a clearing or something, still like 4 hours away from his father's house. And he said he woke up and had the feeling that he had been running for a long time.
For
like, I guess the physical feeling.
Just kidding.
Yeah. That would be a very specific feeling.
Right. So much pain.
Yeah, exactly. And so, yeah. And so then he just went on. He, they of course covered it because that's amazing. What happened. But he never would speak about it. Yeah. He is still alive. He's like on Twitter and stuff. And he's also just like, he's kind of a strange guy, like the stuff the tweets that I saw from him.
Yeah.
But otherwise he won't talk about it to anybody. But and the reason he says is because he doesn't know. He doesn't remember anything.
Yeah, there's nothing to tell.
Yeah, he can just, that's all he's got. There's nothing else.
What?
Isn't that wild?
Yes. Well, and it's so funny that you're bringing this up. When I was home on my break, Nick was telling me about some podcast it might have been somebody who was like on TikTok or something who would like tell these stories kind of like what you're talking about. I don't remember who he said it was, so I don't know. Could be the same person, or I don't know.
Huh.
But it was a story of like a kid who, like, his grandma's watching the kid play outside, and she's like, I'll be on the porch, but stay, within my sight. Don't go past this like tree line or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And she said she hears the kid yells help or something. And so she runs, and it sounds nearby. And so she runs down there, and then she doesn't see him anywhere. And then she hears him yell out again. And it's like really far away now.
Oh.
And I know. And so, and maybe they hear him one more time. And so, but she can't find him anywhere. And of course they search and search. And then some short amount of time later, maybe a day or few days later, I don't remember who finds him in the woods, and he's like fine, like, and doesn't remember anything at all. Yeah, and wasn't scratched up or anything. But
that's crazy.
What? I know. Ugh. I want to know it all.
I want all the answers. I can't have anything that's yeah.
I really do. But anyway.
Well, I just had to mention that because it was just so
Yeah.
bizarre to me.
Yeah. I love it.
So the last thing that I want to talk about is, you mentioned the other day, we were talking about our reliance on
Yes.
cell phones and how what we were having to coordinate, like getting somewhere and
Yeah.
finding each other, and we weren't familiar with the area.
Yeah.
And it's like, how did people used to do this when they
Yeah.
didn't have cell
Because
phones?
it was
Like,
simple. I mean, you were just like, okay, yeah, I'll call you when I'm there, or whatever. And
yeah. Otherwise, that would have been a whole process of,
yes,
trying to figure out where the
where
other
we're
one
gonna
was.
meet, what the layout looks like, where we're gonna meet exactly, where's the
Yeah, when
nearest
you,
payphone in case I do need to try to get a hold of someone.
yeah. And so you mentioned that there are like a whole stream of movies that the plot would no longer hold up if they had cell phones.
If they just had cell phones.
Yes. So we kind of made a list a little bit of movies that would be totally altered if
Right. Which
cell phones
I'm
existed or if technology was different,
Yes, I'm gonna start, and I'm gonna start like really paying attention to this because, of course, we were talking about it earlier, and I was like, nothing is coming to mind, but I know they're out there. So anyway, I might occasionally be like, by the way, here are a couple things I thought of.
Here's some more. Well, so there's some funny ones and then there's some, more like thoughtful ones, but
Right, right.
and there will be spoilers for these movies, I guess,
Yeah,
just in
yeah.
case. We're not gonna. They're all well-known movies, I think, but
Nothing new. Yeah.
yeah. And so some of these are not just cell phone related. They're definitely more like the technology that exists now.
Technology.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
And so one I think is hilarious is the movie Scream, which is all about the killers calling people, and
Uh-huh.
that caller ID would have just ended that.
Like,
Um,
could you please stop calling me Bob or whatever your name? I
yeah,
know who
I
this
can.
is. I'm calling
It's
the
your
police.
it's your dad's name that shows up on this caller ID here. So yeah, so
Not
that one,
funny.
that's one. And then let's see. Oh, Adventures in Babysitting,
Oh, that's
which
right. Yeah.
classic 80s movie that, all 80s babies saw that. And the whole thing is the story is prompted by this girl who's babysitting, and her friend is stranded in the city. Like, she lives out in the suburbs.
Mm-hmm.
Her friend's stranded in the city and doesn't have a way to get home. And she's not supposed to be there. Like, I think she got mad and ran away or something.
Uh-huh.
And so she can't call her own parents. So she calls her friend to come get her. And that would have been a much shorter movie. Because the whole thing, they're trying to find her.
And then
And
she just
then
goes home and good night.
Yeah, exactly. So that was another one. And then It's a Wonderful Life. It cracks me up.
Yes.
Because if there was Venmo or GoFundMe or whatever, that movie would have been 5 minutes long. Like, oh, we're short. So
let's
just
reach out to the community or whatever.
yeah, tweet this out and everybody will pitch in $1.
Exactly. Someone creates a GoFundMe for George Bailey.
I mean, that is literally what would happen.
Yeah, the end of that movie is literally a GoFundMe page.
Oh, anyway, so there's hilarious ones like that, or Psycho. The plot of that movie would never work if there was TripAdvisor.
that one might be my favorite.
I know. You can imagine the reviews left, like,
super off-putting,
creepy, yeah, creepy guy. I found him, caught him trying to look at me in the shower.
Yeah. Seems to be obsessed with his mom.
Yeah, who may be a decaying corpse somewhere.
I don't know. I get the feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, that was great. And then Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead is another one that's the kids are left, which that movie is so just out of bounds bonkers anyway. Like, the whole premise
at every turn.
every turn.
I mean,
But it
you could
was
have.
super enjoyable
Oh
when we were
yeah,
kids.
yeah.
Yeah.
But in real life, you could have stopped that. I mean, yeah. As soon as they found the babysitter,
Oh yeah.
just
Well, and then like, so she gets this job for a fashion company and fakes her resume
she's
and
like
like,
16.
yes. So with Facebook and LinkedIn and, Snapchat or whatever,
Yes.
that's all they would take, because the secretary has to be really, the secretary that doesn't like her
Uh-huh.
has to be really crafty to figure out that she's a
Yes, she
teenager.
works hard. And I remember being like, yeah, I kind of sympathize with you a little bit. Like, you should get to the bottom
Be
of
questioning
this.
this. Yeah.
Yes,
Like,
this young child
she comes in there and starts taking over
taking over
everything.
the place. I'd be mad. She's probably like, the lady's probably like my age. And yeah, I don't
Right.
blame her. I don't
Yeah.
blame her. She's like, I've
Like,
worked hard to get here. And this little
right.
child. Anyway.
And there, I did find a list of some that were like that, that the way that they were writing was just hilarious to me. So I have to share a little snippet of it. But the movie, North by Northwest with Cary Grant, the whole thing is that he's got a mistaken identity thing. So these mysterious spy people think he's an advertising executive, but they think that he's some kind of federal agent.
Right.
And, again, Google would have cleared that up really quickly.
Dude, I found your Facebook page and this isn't you.
You're not a secret agent.
Or even if it wasn't something that obvious, there are just plenty of ways to, deep dive. Like, ask
Reddit
say, like, look, or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. I work on Madison Avenue. Call my, whatever.
Yeah.
And then another hilarious one is Chinatown. The whole movie is Jack Nicholson trying to find out who's the bad guy, who owns the water rights, and that would be another thing that
you just Google.
The internet, And then they said that the final line in that film would be, "Forget it, Jack. It's WikiLeaks."
That's right.
So yeah,
which the leaks. Even that play on words is pretty beautiful with what it's about.
Exactly. Anyway, so there's a lot of those. So once you start looking at those, and I think we have discussed previously that now we're watching movies and shows, from years ago, and how there's so many things that are jarring in them.
Yes.
Like whether it's things that people would not say in public anymore,
that things we've decided are really inappropriate.
Yeah. Or just, products or just ideas. There's all kinds of stuff that once you start thinking about that. And I think people were probably saying, well, yeah, of course, obviously that, movies are time capsule, to a certain extent. But I think what is striking for at least the conversations that we've had is that we're seeing this from things that were happened in our childhood. So it's not like
I lived
ancient history.
Yes.
I saw this 20 times when I was 12 and now I'm seeing it through different eyes.
Through new eyes, that's for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I want to know if anybody else can think of examples of movies that would be spoiled.
Yes.
Technology was different.
I like this game a lot, even though I cannot in my mind. Oh, I think I said Sleepless in Seattle would be at least a great example. Not as complicated now, because I can't, I haven't seen that movie in a long time, but I think like the little girl does some kind of computer magic and I don't remember, but
there's definitely like they were both in the same place at the same time, but they don't know what the other looks like.
Right.
Which,
exactly.
Facebook doesn't allow that to happen.
Right.
And there's just several things like that. That's kind of another one of those identity ones where it would be cleared up pretty quickly.
Yes, exactly. But yeah.
Anyway, so hit us with your favorites and we'll maybe revisit these if we come up with some more.
Yeah.
But I think that's it. I'm looking forward to the How To Festival tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Yeah,
I am
so
too.
yeah, we didn't do it last year, but it's something that we started back in 2013. So this is one of our longer running
Mhm.
events, and looks to be lots of fun. It's going to be
Yeah.
outside, and some cool people coming to do cool stuff. So
Yeah. Join us. Why don't you?
yeah, exactly. Come on out.
Yeah.
And so hopefully we'll see you there, or we will talk to you next week.
Yeah. Have a good one, guys.
Yeah, bye.